the meeting. Welcome everyone. It's a full group tonight. The full board is present. We have our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous people of Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Thank you. Additions to the agenda. Anyone with anything we wanted to add? I wanted to add to 11 point under other business, Leanne's comments in regards to her fashion show. So we'll add that for you officially, Leanne. Is there anything else? Just as the chair, there's a couple updates. We did not put on correspondence, but there are a couple things that I'll share with you at that point as well. So I'll follow Leanne then, if that's okay with everyone. We need approval of the agenda, a motion to approve the agenda. Becky moves to approve the agenda. We need someone to second that, please.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All in favor, hand, please. Thank you. The agenda is approved for this evening. Our agenda is a long agenda this evening, so at times, if we have to speed up, I'll mention it to you. Before we go on to number 4, the declaration of pecuniary interests, I just wanted to point out that we welcome tonight Sarah Jameson as our recorder. Nicole Noble has left us, so just so you're aware that we have a new recording secretary. At this point, I'll ask if anybody has any declarations of pecuniary interests in regards to anything. No? That's fine. Please take a moment and look at page 1, which is your approval, which are the previous minutes from the October meeting, and take a moment and take a moment and have a look at the September minutes and have a moment to peruse them. Are there any changes or any comments in regards to our minutes? I shared with Ellen today that I felt Nicole gave us very detailed minutes, almost verbatim minutes, so they were very detailed. If there's no comments in regards to our minutes from September 14th, can I have someone move that we accept these minutes? A mover. Thank you, Leanne. A seconder. Thank you, Ms. Lynch. And all in favor? Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. And I'll refer this to Ellen, but at this point we had no significant business arising from the minutes. I just wanted to remind everyone, though, from those minutes that on November 24th, Ellen will be meeting with the accreditation people and going through the accreditation process. So that's just from the previous minutes and an update on that. I'm sure Ellen will fill us in a little later when she talks about the accreditation process. Any other business arising from the minutes that I've overlooked? Okay, please take a moment and we'll move to 7.1, which is our accounts payable. Our accounts payable will represent from August to October 21st. If you've had a moment, I know there's an extensive number of pages there. I believe there's 8 pages, but if you've had a chance to review them or you have any questions in regards to any of the expenditures or invoices, please feel free to ask at this point. I will point out one that you'll notice it was page 16 of the massive collection of papers we have, but it was our payment to VG, the architects that are giving us the proposals for the hub project. It was, we had budgeted, we have in our budget up to $35,000. We received an invoice for $5,932 at that point. But any other questions or comments in regards to the accounts payable? You're very quiet tonight as a board. If there are no questions or concerns regarding the accounts payable from August to October 21st, we need someone to move that we accept the accounts payable.
I'll move those.
Thank you, Becky. Seconded it by Leanne. All in favor? Thank you. The accounts payable are completed. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen, and she has released the audited statement for, excuse me, the audited statement for North Perth came out, and our portion, and Ellen has included a brief statement on page 20, but the breakdown on the financial statement. And if you've had a chance to look at it, now would be your opportunity to ask any questions in regards to it. As you'll notice, we had a year-end surplus of $999,622, which is a nice surplus to have. We're just under the $1 million mark. So if you have any questions, you can direct them towards Ellen or myself if I can help. You guys are just too quiet tonight.
Terrence, I just want to comment, that's a very hefty surplus. Is that pretty typical for a library board? Ellen, do you know that at all, or?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So libraries deal with their surplus in different ways. Some don't do a surplus at all. Some collect the surplus and have their own. Some only get the funding from the municipality that they absolutely need. I think we're lucky in terms of having a surplus for the possible need going forward with the hub project and those moves and possible infrastructure changes that we might need there. So in this case, I would say it's a nice thing to have.
Was that also impacted by the one-time grant from last year or something like that? There was a substantial amount of money. I mean, was it the municipal? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember. But there was like something in the $90,000 range that was a one-time only thing that we would not be getting again.
I would have to look into that, Bernice, but I think you're referring to the OMPF grant, the Ontario Municipal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That more, from my understanding, and again, I can look into it more if you would like, that just kind of offset what the municipality would give us. It's not necessarily reflective of the surplus. The surplus is probably mostly impacted by COVID and how we had to reduce services.
Right. So in the anticipation of going forward, we'll probably go back to the normal status of our finances from previous years.
That's the hope.
Okay.
And I do think, Bernice, you will see likely a change as we move forward, as the actual budget has been significantly altered in terms of the expenditures that relate to our maintenance of buildings. It has changed. So I think in the future, we will see likely a dramatic change in what we would have as surplus. A great deal of our funds now is allocated towards the towards Jeff's department. Ellen has requested that we need approval of this. So the North Perth Library needs to approve this audit statement for the year ending on December 31st, 2020. So do I have someone willing to make that motion?
Bernice here, I'm willing to.
Thank you, Bernice. Seconder?
I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All in favor of the audit statement? Thank you. That moves us to our budget. Ellen has included excellent narrative of the breakdown of our budget. And if you've had a chance to go through it, I'm going to turn it over at this point to Ellen. And at any time, if you have any questions, you may direct them through to Ellen. Go ahead, Ellen.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Chair, you'll see in the budget narrative, I've pulled out places that might be significant change or needed extra information. So what's different this year is that the municipality is budgeting staff wages to the top of the pay grid for all departments except childcare, where that'll be phased in. So you'll see though that it doesn't impact our salaries too much, except for that interim CEO position where we've been advised to budget my position fully in the full-time budget, even though I'm technically paid at the part-time budget. So right now we have 2 library assistant positions, our library courier and the CEO, who are not currently at the top of the pay grid. But again, the values aren't significant from what we've been doing this year. And the wages do reflect being open to those pre-COVID hours. So at least 16 hours a week in Moncton and Atwood, and the full hours in Listowel. Are there any questions on wages? No, I don't think so. If we're okay, we can move on to computer costs. So I understand that this was a conversation that was really happening last year for the budget because of the way IT restructured how the costs were coming out. So with IT help, we have reduced our computers from 32 to about 14 devices that we'll be paying $3,011 for per device in 2022. You'll see this not as like one lump cost, but across the admin, Listowel, Atwood, and Moncton branches, they all have a computer maintenance piece in it that will reflect that. We're finding with the reduction in COVID use of our public computers that we are meeting what our public needs in those spaces with these reductions. So we will maintain them and reassess every year around budget time.
I just have a question. Hi, Bernice here. When you're saying 32 to 14, are those the computers for the public, or does that include the computers that that are used for staff?
That's all of the computers. So that will include staff computers. Yeah.
And so is this number, we had an extensive discussion about this in the previous meeting, that how people are tending to bring their own devices in and that sort of thing. So do you think this is a permanent reflection, or will this number be adjusted should we get to an endemic and then post-COVID reality? What is your thoughts on that?
I would say right now, and in the short-term future, this is going to satisfy our need. We are finding, we went downstairs today and 3 people were on laptops. We're finding, I think maybe once in the last 3 months, all computers were used at the Listowel branch. And you can see some of that in the branch report. But yeah, it's fitting our need. With the hub work, it might change. But until that work, I would say this is probably going to satisfy the community need.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions about computers? Okay, so the occupancy cost is something that is brand new. We've talked about this a lot. We've had Jeff on as well as the new facilities manager. Instead of having a lot of those, those hydro costs, the maintenance costs of the library being in the library budget, they're being transferred to Jeff as the facilities manager. So we presented based on the actuals and what was budgeted for 2020, and we presented those to Jeff, and these numbers are based on those. But what's important to note is that depreciation is also part of these numbers. And for the Listowel one, you'll see it gave me a bit of a head scratcher, the Listowel number. if you have your packages in the budget, we're on page 29. And it's the third last line there. So it's 0165608888. You'll see that the transfer here is 63,328. This was much higher than my recommendation, but it also does include the depreciation, which is usually around 15,000. And it also includes the salary and the wages of our custodial staff, which will also be transferred to facilities. So it's a bit of a shock for me, but it's representative of those pieces, and I wanted to point that out. You'll see too in the budget, those lines that are being transferred to Jeff and facilities, they all have zeros on them. The municipality is currently in action to change the accounts a little bit, and in the interim, they have to represent the accounts this way, with all of the zeros, so they can transfer and create new GL codes on the other end. So our budget does look a little bit odd, and it still might change in the way it looks, but the numbers should be pretty sure.
Excuse me.
Are there any questions about the occupancy costs I can try to answer?
In the end, our budget will be slightly slimmed down, if that's what I understand you're saying, by the removal of a number of line items.
Yeah, so it should kind of balance out a little bit. We're hoping but
Excuse me.
the budgets from the municipal staff aren't complete yet. So these are estimates for our rental costs. So there could be a little bit of change there, but these are numbers we no longer budget for or have that control over to dictate what the numbers are.
Thank you, Ellen.
Are there any questions about that? Seeing none, I can move on. So the only, there's two new things I'm requesting in this year's budget. One is a collection. I proposed a new collection line. We this year had a memorial donation, you would have seen in the accounts, that we used to introduce a new puzzle lending collection that's been very popular. And so the trend in libraries is to have more untraditional library materials being lent out, things like little tech kits and those puzzles and those games that we already did do before. And because some collections are being underused, like CDs, with streaming services, that there's less of a need there. We've reallocated some of the collection budget to create a new line to support these untraditional collections. There's no extra money being asked here, it's just a reallocation. Are there any questions on that? No. If we're good, I'll move right into digital services. This is really the only increase. So nothing else is being restricted.
Ellen, I hate to mention this, but we couldn't hear you for about 30 seconds.
Okay,
So
where did I stop?
It was at digital services you were
Okay.
talking about.
Sure, sorry about that. So digital services increase is being requested of $2,000 to accommodate the addition of RB digital magazines into our resource line. So the Saugeen Consortium voted to include the RB digital magazines. So, you can read digital magazines through Libby or Download Library. but that comes with an extra cost. So this year I'm asking for $2,000 to cover that cost. So other digital services aren't limited. There's an anticipation that the census numbers are going to start to impact how our e-resources are charged to us. So our e-resources are charged based on the population of North Perth, and we're still going based on, I think it's 2016 numbers. So with what we know of the North Perth community growing, we're anticipating too that those costs might become tighter. So in accommodating RB Digital magazines now, we hope to mitigate those problems in the future. Is there any questions there?
Continue then.
The next is just the PCIN budget. So the PCIN budget is a pretty much fixed cost for us. There's no new cost to reflect in the PCIN budget. It's all the same from last year. It's already been presented to the PCIN board last meeting, and we have a meeting tomorrow to talk further about stuff like that. But there's actually a decrease to the budget this year, which does offset a little bit of the request of the previous digital services.
Thank you.
We're almost at the end. So the next one is revenues. I just wanted to note that the budget is reflecting that we're going to a model of fine free. So there is no fines budgeted, but there are recovery costs reflected in the terms of, lost or damaged materials. That's still reflected in the budget. And then to Bernice's earlier point, the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund will not be coming to the library in 2022, as it doesn't fall within the conditions of the grant. So I did talk to the finance department at the municipality, and they felt it would be inappropriate to filter this grant through the library because that's not its intention. So in 2020, the money from the municipality came only through this grant. This year, it will come more directly from the municipality, even though the municipality will receive this grant, if that makes sense. Are there any questions on that? I know that one could be a little bit confusing. And then just the last bit is the capital. So because our facilities costs are no longer our own costs, the capital project of the brick on the building has been transferred to Jeff in facilities. He'll carry that project over, hopefully with the support of the library board. And we're anticipating that the plus VG costs will not carry over at this time. So for 2022, we won't have any capital costs as we prepare for whatever that future hub looks like.
Thank you, Ellen. Any questions in regards to the capital or revenues? Ellen and I did discuss the capital. There could be capital costs, not this year as an example, but since we're removing most of the projects that involve the building, we have none this year. But if we were looking at an internal a project within the facility of the library, we could have capital costs. But at this time, it just doesn't fit the model that we're looking at. Ellen has asked that we recommend that the North Perth Library Board recommends the approval of the 2022 budget as presented and approved to send it to the council for review and request the support of $879,135.37. But before we do that, does anybody have any questions when you've reviewed the general ledger pages? If you have any questions in regards to a line item, now would be the time to ask that question now. No questions or comments? Then can I have a motion that we approve the 2022 budget as presented and approved to send it to the council for their review and request the support of the amount of $879,135.37. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, John. Seconded by?
I can second that.
Thank you, Becky. All in favor of the 2020 budget? Thank you. Thank you, Ellen, for all the work on the budget. I know it was a lot of effort because the municipality has changed the system, and we've had to adapt to the previous system and plan for the future way of budgeting. So I appreciate your help. At this point, I'll turn it over to you, Becky. Do you have any comments or questions? I'm sorry, do you have anything from the Friends report?
The Friends are having a meeting, excuse me, actually on the 22nd of November. It's also kind of just a chance for a couple of the members to meet Ellen. I've met her, but some of the other members have not. So the basis for the meeting is just kind of a touch base, but I've been in contact with the Devos, and excuse me, they will not be having the UCUT this year. I don't know if anybody follows them on Facebook. They did have the posting. So we knew this last year that they weren't going to have enough trees to support this year. So they have posted that they're bringing trees in, but for them to do a fundraiser with us just doesn't make sense, because the costs for them they have to pay to bring these trees in, right? So the cost for them has gone up. So we're not going to be doing a fundraiser out there this year. What they are doing is they've had requests of people asking for the greenery, which you could go out and make a donation to the library and get greenery to make your own urns and decorate. So they're still going to do that. They're more than happy to do that. So we will get some sort of donation from them for that. I think last year it was close to $300. I think last year was the greenery. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but I mean, there's going to be, if you want a real Christmas tree, make sure you get yours early, because there's going to be a shortage all over of trees. So or go out and see the Devils. So yeah, we're just going to meet on the 22nd and just a touch base, but other than that, that is it.
Thank you, Becky. Are they still looking for volunteer help as they have in the past from the library?
No, they won't need to, because they have staff that they hire to come in. Like my son works there, so they have staff that they hire to come in for the weekends for that season, starting on the 20th of November. So they don't need any library friends or any of us
Support.
to come out. I said I would still come out if they need me to, because I'm taking my son out there anyway. But it's kind of fun. So, but it won't be labor intensive as, wrapping trees and things like that, because the trees are all going to be wrapped already when they get there. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Becky, and we will miss their Christmas tree program this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ellen, let's move on to board development, number 9, accreditation.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. So this is an ongoing one until our accreditation is complete. I just want to remind everyone we are doing our review shortly. Staff have gone out to the branches, and we have a few changes we're going to do, but we feel like for the most part, Moncton and Listowel are in good shape for the site review. We know there are accessibility issues in the Atwood branch, just even with that front door. So we're not anticipating, I think last time Atwood failed, and we're anticipating that happening again. But that won't preclude us to getting accredited. The staff have been really good at OLS, and I keep sending that spreadsheet to them, and we're about maybe halfway through of all of the documentation they need as well. So we're in the home stretch, hopefully, and we'll see how that goes. So at the next meeting, you'll likely get that update of how those virtual site visits go.
Oh, thank you, Ellen. I also want to acknowledge what Ellen and the staff at the library have been doing. We mentioned in a July meeting, if you recall, that when we were looking at all our policies, that it would be nice for the board members to receive a complete package and maybe provide that package as well to the staff at the library, so they knew the policies under which the library was operating. Ellen and the staff have worked over the last few weeks and put the package together. I had offered to come in and do it, and when we were talking today, Ellen has expressed that the staff and herself have organized all that, and they've actually, and I don't want to send it too far here, but she said it's actually ready for printing. So thank you, Ellen, and thank your staff for that. We appreciate that. We look forward to seeing it in the coming year. Next, library updates, Ellen, COVID.
Sure. So a lot of these are just verbal reports. COVID, we are still, there have been some different accommodations for libraries being made. So we have never struggled with capacity limits in any of our spaces. But if we were checking vaccination proof at the door, we could get rid of capacity limits. But because it's not an issue and because we want to support our community and welcome everybody, we haven't instilled that piece in, and it hasn't been a problem that way. We're finding our patrons have really been really excellent about following the rules that we've asked them to follow. There are still a few people who don't know we're open yet. So if you're talking to people, let them know. They can come into the library, and we are still helping people print off their passports. So we had another big wave with the QR codes coming out, and we've probably done about 1,700 plus passports to support our community and getting that proof. But that's mostly the COVID update for me. I don't know if you want me to just keep going, Terry.
I just wanted to say, Ellen, when I've been out in public, I have heard so much about the passports that you should be very proud of that, because I was at a recent event and the comment came up about the North Perth Library and the passport program, and everybody was very impressed with it. So again, kudos to you and your staff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Branch update.
So you'll see in your package the report from Sherry about our programming, facilities, and patron services reports, plus some of our statistics. For some of those meetings that happened, we did have to get a new furnace in the Atwood branch, which you'll see in next month's invoices, I'm sure. We had some updates to our AEDs in our Atwood and Listowel branch. Some of the pieces expire, so those have been replenished. We've been doing our virtual free programming with our Science Institute. And you can see there's a quote in here I would just like to point out. So we just finished the candy chemistry workshop, and it was seriously outstanding. My 5-year-old found it easy to follow along, was 100% engaged, and loved participating. Thank you so much for offering this to our community. So we're still being able to maintain some of this online programming. This one's really nice because it's subsidized, so it's not a cost to our library. And we have future workshops scheduled right until March of 2022. Virtual class visits continue. We did celebrate Ontario Public Library Week by having a draw in each of our branches for adults and children. And we had an author give us a special message on Facebook. I would encourage you to watch it if you haven't yet. It got quite a few views for what we've been getting on our Facebook. I think it's about 200 people watched that video. And we've continued to do make and take packages, and we'll continue to do that for Christmas as well. But you'll see in our statistics, I think computer use is always a particular one to be interested in. It's not huge. You can see, for the month of October, there was 10 people in Atwood who used the computers, and none in Moncton. I know only about 250 about in Listowel. So again, I think the computer costs we have right now are really meeting the community need. But I think that would be it for the branch update.
Any questions for Ellen in regards to the branch update comments? Okay, Ellen, continue on with the hub update.
Sure. So we have continued to meet bi-weekly with the Hub plus VG group. The tentative plans have been shared with staff, and they've been having an opportunity to share some feedback. The library is getting to a place where we feel pretty satisfied with where it is until the next stage of evaluation, probably with the community. And it's more looking at now accommodating the needs of the other partners in the group. But just to let everyone know that things haven't changed too much since you saw them last. And when there's significant changes, we will bring them to the board.
Thank you, Ellen. Bernice, did you want to add anything to that? Did we lose? Okay,
Nope, here, sorry.
that's fine. Bernice is part of that committee as well. Sherry from the library staff and myself. We participate with Ellen with VG. Ellen, do you want to do the van update?
Yes, so the van update. We finally received the invoice from Stratford for the van repairs. It's been long in coming, so Stratford had received it, and then what happens is that North Perth pays a portion of that, as do other PCIN libraries. And just as a reminder, the city of Stratford also agreed to absorb some of the costs because of the lack of communication around the costs that were happening. So that will be probably in the next meetings invoices as well that you'll see. Our share was about $7,000. That will come out of our PCIN reserve that we have. So last year it was seen that the PCIN van needed a reserve. There's not enough money yet in that van reserve to pull out of. I think there's only like $1,000 in it. So it'll come out of the regular PCIN reserve. But that's, again, across the PCIN group, all of the libraries will be pulling out of that reserve. We're happy that Dave, our courier, is back to do our courier service. He's very happy to be back. You know, and the regular maintenance is happening. It's got its snow tires on and it's going really well again. We did sign on our temporary van driver who had filled in for Dave as a fill-in when Dave is requesting days off or is unable to do it as he had a training recently. And she's been really awesome as well to do that service for us. I would say that's our van update.
Thanks, Ellen. And it has been it's been 11 months since we started with the van accident and all the stories that have gone with it. So appreciate you bringing it to a close at this point. Number 11, other business. And at this point, I will invite Leanne to share with us. Leanne,
Yes, thank you. And through you, Chair Richie, I just wanted to let you know that, as you might remember, on October the 16th and 17th, I engaged in a fundraiser along with the United Way and partnered, of course, with the library board to host a fashion show. And on the Saturday evening from 8 until 10, we got everything set up, which is just miraculous. It was a 2-hour setup, which is amazing. And I just want to thank many people on the board here that really made a contribution to make it so successful. On Sunday, we had the models come and their handlers come at 10:15. We did a short rehearsal, and we had a nice brief lunch, and then we were live and starting the show before 1 o'clock, and we finished right on schedule at 3 o'clock with some shopping afterwards. Everything went as planned, and like I said, I couldn't ask for better help. We had people on our library board that were handlers. We had people on the library board that were helping with decorating and at the door, and Terrence spoke briefly. It was really great. We ended up having 52 participants that paid, and then with all the assistants, which I anticipated, we had to have about 24 people between the models and the volunteers to run the show. So with the 52 people paying for the event, we were able to raise through ticket sales enough money to make a donation of $2,500 for the hub project. If we would have had our hope, we had hoped to have almost 200. If we had done that, we would have been able to raise around 5,000. But given the fact that we're just, entering this post-COVID, post-pandemic period, I think we did fairly well. There was another fundraiser this weekend with the United Way, and they had a smaller response than the fashion show. So I think we can be proud of all of our efforts. And I just want to thank everyone for all that you've done to support that event. And I just want to say, I hope you had fun. I know it was fun just to be together and publicly and do something fun like that again. And I have been speaking with the United Way already, and we are talking about making this an annual event. So we are looking at booking the facilities again for the fall of next next year, 2022. So if you were involved last year, perhaps you might consider coming back. It would be easier, I'm sure, the second time around for all of us. And I just want to let you know that the donation has been made. I did transfer that money to the United Way, so they do have it. And we have been doing some reviews of the program, reviews of the fundraiser itself to look at what we can do to improve it, of course. And I sit on the United Way committee, so it's the community committee, so we are prepping for all kinds of events, including that annual event coming up next year. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I want to send a big shout out to Chen, who is one of Shirley's students, who's staying with Shirley. Chen was an amazing help, did all the sound and IT during the event, and couldn't have done it without him, and he was awesome. So, and thank you to everyone else too for all your efforts. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Leanne. I know the United Way and the library board both appreciate all your hard work. I was only at it for a brief period of time, but it looked like everybody was having a very good time at it. I'm not one to go to fashion shows, so it looked like a good time. So thank you so much. Last piece of business under other business, reminder to all members of the library board. In the new year, the OLA conference again is taking place. It will be online. If you're interested in participating, please let Ellen know. She'll register us. It is, as I said, an online conference. Ellen will, excuse me, Ellen or I will provide you with the background information, dates, and that for it. It is a worthwhile conference to go to. There is also a component to the conference that I think is exceptional for any board member after a few years of being on a board. It's called the, oh, Ellen, help me. It's boot
Boot camp, board boot camp.
yeah. Boot camp for board members, and it's an excellent. I did it about 4 years ago, and it was very informative. And I recommend anybody on a library board to participate in it. So that ends our other business for tonight. At this point, I'm going to ask Simon to prepare us to go in camera.
Sorry, Terrence, can I ask a question? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
no,
apologize. Go
it's
ahead.
okay. I'm the OLS member, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So they have their board assembly meetings. So you register by population of your library board. And it's tomorrow from 4 to 6. But I have to take my daughter to hockey in Teeswater at 4:30. So I didn't know, I can log in for the first little bit, but really I'm only going to be able to do it for about 20 minutes. I didn't know if someone else, I can forward the link to someone else. It's a Zoom meeting. But I have to take my daughter, so I can't attend.
Is there anyone else interested in it? Becky, I was the former rep like yourself.
Yeah.
If you send me the link,
Okay.
I will try to sit in on the
Yeah,
meeting.
I apologize. My husband's at work and I have to get Aubrey where she needs to go. So sorry about that.
And again, Becky, if you hear anything else in regards to the conference, please share it with all board
Sure.
members as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments before we ask Simon to prepare us to go in camera? Okay, at this point, I need a motion that we move in camera. In accordance to section 239 of the Municipal Act, a closed section pertaining to the proposed and pending acquisition, sale of land for municipal or local board purposes regarding a municipal property described in Plan 148, lots 58, plots 15, 51, and 59. So I need a motion to move us in camera. John makes the motion. Seconder, please.
I'll second that, Terrence.
Thanks, Matt. And Simon, please let us know when we're
We are good to go.
Thank you, Sarah. We've come out of our meeting, ladies and gentlemen. We have no other business we wish to discuss. I remind you that we have a meeting next month. I believe it is on the 14th of December, and that will be at
Terry?
7. I'm sorry.
It's actually the first Tuesday of the month.
Oh, the
That was-
7th.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 7th. I'm sorry. I apologize. It is the 7th and it'll be at 7 p.m. At this point, we do not know its format, whether it will be on Zoom or an in-person meeting, but as we move closer, you'll be well aware of that. If you have any information or any questions about that coming meeting, please send me an email or send it to Ellen and we can include it in the agenda at that time. At this time, I need a motion to close this meeting. You guys are so animated tonight.
Motion.
Thank you, Bernice, for making the motion to adjourn the meeting. It's seconded by Becky. All in favor of closing the meeting. Have a good evening, everyone, and look forward to seeing you in the next few weeks. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Terry.
Righto.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Simon.